Morgan Romero is joining us live in the newsroom now with what we can expect next from both camps before Joe Biden is officially declared the 46th president of the United States. So, Morgan, you have a little lesson in civics for us.
I do, but first we should note while Joe Biden was declared president-elect, North Carolina, Georgia, and Alaska are still counting ballots. And because he had such a slim victory in Georgia, its Secretary of State said they will do a recount. However, we may not know results of that recount until the end of the month. We can also expect the Trump campaign to request recounts in several other states where the race was so close, including Wisconsin. But according to a recent report by Fair Vote, recounts likely won't change the outcome. The election doesn't become official, though, until states and Congress check off a number of important steps. States still have to certify results, and they have laws dictating different timelines. So that gives states more time to tally up every vote, which is more helpful this year with mail-in ballots still trickling in many states. President Trump is actually fighting to disqualify those ballots in many states. His lawyers plan to head to court today to try and reverse the results of the election, alleging fraud. They're filing several lawsuits in federal and state courts around the United States, many trying to halt vote counting or disqualify ballots were already thrown out on lack of merit. And experts say other lawsuits, specifically over mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania, likely won't change the outcome of the race.
So, Morgan, let's talk a little bit more about the process. Once those lawsuits work their way through the entire system, states then certify the votes.
Yeah, that's right. And something a lot of us don't know, those results actually go to the archivist of the United States. Then the Electoral College comes into play. State presidential electors hold a vote on December 14th. Then on January 6, 2021, Congress will meet to officially count the electoral votes and declare the 46th president. And then Inauguration Day comes 2 weeks later on January 20th. Meanwhile, Biden and Harris are prepping now to hit the ground running. Today, they plan to announce their new coronavirus task force. It's their own group of experts and scientists who will advise them on the pandemic. And they're readying an action plan to go into effect, actually, on Inauguration Day.
All right, Professor Romero, I think you have a second chapter there. I learned something. Yeah, thank you, Morgan.
Me too. Yes.
Well.